A Turkish court rules in the Hrant Dink murder case. An Armenian judge may be under pressure by the Pashinyan administration. And what was Sogomon Tehlirian doing 100 years ago today? All that in this episode of Sovereign Artsakh. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am Michael Gavlak, a Hollywood producer, and I am not Armenian. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. I am focused on Armenia, Christianity, and humanity. That's our audience. All of the above. Hello, all my friends. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, click like now. Why don't you? Click the like button. That helps the algorithms here on YouTube. And share. Share this video. Share this channel with your Armenian friends, your Christian friends, your human friends. All right. I will read this article about a ruling that happened today, March 26th. So most of you are probably watching this on the 27th because I'm recording this later than usual. But it was a ruling today in an Istanbul court regarding the Hrant Dink murder case some 17 years ago. Those of you who don't know who Hrant Dink is a Turkish Armenian journalist who was assassinated. And it was quite a momentous occasion. It kind of shook the world. Oh, anybody who's paying attention to that part of the world. Okay, but before that, actually, at the end of this, and for the next few months, at the end of every episode, I'm going to talk about Sogomon Tehlirian briefly. And so stay tuned for that. If you don't know who Sogomon Tehlirian is, then stay tuned. But most of you, I imagine, do. All right. This Armenian judge who returned a lawsuit filed by ex-chief of Army's general staff says there is no pressure on her. Let me just fill you in on the context of what this is. This is an update for me and an update for you on what's going on in Armenia a little bit. So there are new elections. Those of you who are following, just bear with me. But those of you who have not been following, there's been upheaval in Armenia as a result of the 44-day war that happened starting September 27th, 2020 through November 9th, 10th of 2020. Azerbaijan attacked the sovereign nation of Artsakh. That's what I will, well, it's not been recognized internationally as a sovereign nation, but it should be. But it's been in Armenian hands for millennia, centuries, and I won't go into those details. But because because Artsakh and the Armenians inarguably lost that conflict, there was political upheaval. There's been political upheaval in Armenia since then. Prime Minister Pashinyan has been blamed for the failures of the military and the failures and concessions made in a trilateral agreement between Russia, who came in to kind of broker this ceasefire between Azerbaijan and Armenia / Artsakh. And so the military has been pointing fingers at the government, which is Pashinyan, and Pashinyan has been pointing the fingers at the military, and they have kind of mutually exclusive claims on who's right and who's wrong. And so Pashinyan dismissed the general of the Ministry of Defense, and that general submitted a couple lawsuits. And I haven't read all the details. I'm assuming these were lawsuits regarding that dismissal. And here's a judge that responded, and she kind of threw out, that seems like she threw out his lawsuits, and he's blaming her or accusing her of being pressured by the government. And here's the response. Former chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Armenia, Onik Gasparian, that's who Pashinyan dismissed from his leadership role over the military, had initially filed two lawsuits with two different demands in the administrative court. One lawsuit was filed with the demand for declaring invalid, and the second one was filed with the demand to declare null and void. Essentially, I'm assuming these are declaring invalid and null and void the command to dismiss him. Both lawsuits were inscribed to one judge who expressed the same position on both lawsuits and indicated the right type of claim. This is what Judge Liana Hakobian of the Administrative Court, who has returned one of Onik Gasparian's lawsuits, told reporters today. Touching upon political repressions, the judge said she hasn't been repressed. the accusation that she's being influenced to dismiss these lawsuits. As for the repressions on Mayor Petrosyan, the judge examining the other administrative claim of Onik Gasparian, the judge said she doesn't know about this. Asked if she believed that the judiciary is independent from the government, the judge said the following: "For me, judges can be internally independent or not. If a judge is internally independent, I believe no branch of government can repress him or her." All right, so that's just an update on what's going on. By the way, the new elections, and I think that is the best decision here because of the turmoil, the domestic turmoil in Armenia. There's a lot of people opposed to Pashinyan. I think maybe the majority are, I don't know if it's a small majority or a large majority are on Pashinyan's side, but because of the opposition, I think it was the right decision to have to move up the election. I think the elections were scheduled for December. The new elections for a new prime minister were scheduled for December of 2023. They've been moved up to June 20th of 2021, almost 2 years or a year and a half early. And that should resolve the internal turmoil. Obviously, if and when Pashinyan is reelected to his position, it'll settle things for a lot of people, but everybody who's in opposition will not be satisfied, but it should calm things down. Listen to the people. As long as the elections are fair and open and honest, and there will always be accusations that they're not. All right, moving on to the next story, and this intrigues me. And in both of these stories, comment in the comment section to educate me if I'm off in any of my assumptions here. But this is fascinating to me. I am of the belief that Turkey is going to have a transformation, that they are more and more acknowledged, and I don't mean the government of Turkey, I mean the people of Turkey are more and more acknowledging the truth of what they did to the Armenians over 100 years ago, 106 years ago, that the word genocide is being spoken more and more on the down low within the people of Turkey. The people of Turkey recognize that these things did happen and that the government has suppressed it for all this time. And so I think there's a movement that's gradually growing and that there will be a transformation in Turkey. I don't know when. I can't predict those kinds of things, but I've been there and I've talked to people and I'm associating with Turks on a regular basis, and things are moving in the right direction no matter what it looks like from the outside. There's plenty of propaganda that would say the opposite, but I am confident that the truth is going to prevail even in Turkey and that Turks will be liberated from this oppressive lie. Okay, Turkish court sentences ex-police chiefs to life imprisonment over Hrant Dink murder. Fascinating. Okay, so this Armenian was murdered, and the guy who did it was like this. Well, the article, let me just read the article. Istanbul, that's March 26th today, or yesterday if you're watching this on the 27th. An Istanbul court sentenced 2 former police chiefs on March 26th to aggravated life imprisonment for their roles in covering up the murder of Hrant Dink, the Turkish-Armenian journalist who was shot dead 14 years ago, Turkish media reported. 4 other former security officers were also given life sentences. A total of 27 people were convicted on charges of accessory to murder, membership to a terrorist group, and falsification of documents. 33 others were acquitted. Hrant Dink, the editor of the bilingual Turkish-Armenian Agos newspaper, was shot dead outside his office in Istanbul in January 2007. The assassin, a 17-year-old Ogun Samast, was sentenced to 23 years in prison by a juvenile court. A year later, another person was sentenced to life imprisonment for instigating the murder. The case was reopened later and new suspects were involved. The March 26 verdict sentenced Istanbul's former police intelligence chief, Ramazan Akurek, and his deputy Ali Fuat Yilmazer to life imprisonment. Reuters cited state media as saying that the court ruled that the murder was carried out in line with the goals of a clandestine network linked to U.S.-based Fethullah Gulen, the U.S.-based preacher who is wanted by Turkey for orchestrating the 2016 coup attempts, something he denies. 13 of the defendants, including Gulen himself, are fugitives. The court did not issue a verdict for them and separated their cases. Dink family's lawyers released a statement in front of the courthouse deeming the court's decision insufficient and inaccurate, Duvar newspaper reported. The decision does not concretely expose who gave the order to kill. This decision consists of serious mistakes and does not bring to light Dink's murder with all of its aspects, they say, adding that they will take the decision to the appeals court, according to Duvar. All right, so hugely controversial. There are some... I'm just curious, is somebody being thrown under the bus? Usually in these political issues, those who are truly responsible never get exposed or never get held accountable. So that may be the case here. This is curious to me. The court ruled that murder was carried out in line. The court ruled that the murder was carried out in line with the goals of a clandestine network linked to U.S.-based Fethullah Gulen. So this is a Turkish dissident who is in hiding, and he is accused of a coup attempt against Erdogan in 2016, and so he's an opposition leader, an opposition to the current administration. I don't know how or why he may have been involved in the assassination of Hrant Dink. That, I mean, I haven't followed it in detail. Is that even plausible? Does that make sense, or is this fake news? Is this some kind of spin? I really don't understand. My understanding was that Fethullah Gulen was okay. I shouldn't speak on something. I don't want to speculate. So in the comments section, please enlighten me. Oskur, one of our Turkish detractors, tell me what your side of the story is regarding Fethullah Gulen, and then my Armenian friends, or even if I have some Turkish friends who are more objective about these things, fill me in. All right, last thing. 100 years ago today, Solomon Tellerian was sitting in a jail cell. In a prison by this time. He had been transferred to a prison in Germany, and one of these episodes, I'll show you the prison, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But he was in jail 100 years ago today. He was free for the first time in about six years. He was free. He said it himself in his memoir, reflecting on the time, or when he was first thrown in jail on March 15th, 1921, after the assassination of Talat Pasha. He had been so enslaved to the burden of assassinating Talat. He could think of nothing else for 6 full years, and finally, when he'd accomplished that task, he described it as freedom, as the jail door slammed shut. I mean, that's how he described it. And so he'd been transferred to the prison and was acclimating, didn't speak the language, was going to chapel on Sundays and enjoying, I would say, the worship that was in some foreign tongue, but he was familiar with Christianity. They had given him a Bible, which he cherished. And so this was the 26th of March would have been his 12th night in prison. My screen is frozen. So on this frozen face, let me say one more thing. I'm still talking, but for some reason my screen froze. Tomorrow, Saturday, or today, for many of you watching this, or this past Saturday for whoever watches this on another date, I am continuing my Saturday special. I think I'm going to call it STW Saturday Show. STW standing for Save the World Saturday Show. That's going to be every Saturday. It's its own subject matter. It's not necessarily Armenian news or anything like that. I will bring that in to the discussion occasionally, but you can go ahead and watch the first installment that I did 2 Saturdays ago, but I'm kind of refreshing and starting tomorrow. All right, subscribe and share. Click the like button. Click the like button now.